The costume I was forced to wear as a mascot for Derby's Funland was just not built for warm weather or user comfort. I was sweating profusely as I stood outside in the noonday sun, a silent prisoner in my oversized get-up, as I put on a fake happy voice, dancing and capering with visitors, all the while dying inside. This wasn't what I'd picture when I'd decided to become a character actor. The costume had the oversized head of a cartoon dog whose gaping mouth I peered out from within. The character wore a blue sailor outfit, a blatant rip-off of a popular duck character created by another brand, a fact which I was heckled for constantly.
Hey, Derby Duck!
A little kid yelled, tossing his hot dog at me and staining my costume yellow with mustard across the front. It was the third time that morning I'd been assaulted by a child, which was my cue to take a smoke break. I began stomping away when someone called after me angrily.
Hey, asshole! My kid wanted a show. Where do you think you're going?
I turned around and saw a red-faced man with a large camera strapped around his neck. He was wearing a fanny pack and an Ed Hardy t-shirt. The devil child's father, I presume.
Whoops!
I said, gritting my teeth and looking down at an obnoxious twerp who had just branded me with mustard.
How do you Darby do, little fella? Are you having a great day at Darby's Funland?
The kid leered up at me, grinning a gap-toothed bully smile.
You wrecked my Derby dog. Now I want a new one. Wait, no. I want an ice cream cone, you big stupid dummy.
The little snot knew damn well what he'd done. His dad hadn't seen it, but the two of us knew that he'd purposely ruined my costume with his hot dog, and now was blaming me for it. It was too much for me to handle. Maybe it was the heat. Maybe it was the fact that I hadn't eaten breakfast yet. Or maybe it was just the infuriating grin of that punk kid staring up at me, knowing he could get away with murder.
I think you're remembering that wrong, little friend. You threw your hot dog at Darby.
Hey, my kid wouldn't do that. Don't blame him for your clumsy ass.
The little boy took a cue from his father and started crying crocodile tears.
Derby's a big fat liar. He ruined my hot dog.
A moment later, the guy was attacking me, shoving me until eventually my manager had to come over, his face a frustrating mask of calm.
What seems to be the problem here?
This punk ass ruined my kid's lunch, and now he's trying to blame him for it. I should sue you guys.
Sure, sue me for a hot dog, I thought to my head. Thankfully, it had gone too far by this point, and I knew better than to say it out loud.
I'm so terribly sorry, sir. Please, follow me this way. Let me take you to our VIP lounge, and we'll get you and your son some complimentary refreshments. Looks like you need a refill there, too.
He pointed at the dad's red plastic cup of beer, nearly empty. The guy finished it off in one long swig and tossed the cup at a nearby trash can, missing completely.
Damn straight. Come on, Skylar. We're VIPs now.
I'd seen this before. Some people tried to make a stink about everything just to get free stuff. But even this douchebag was taking it to another level. Even the kids seemed to be in on it. And they were gonna go get rewarded for this behavior? Hell no. I'd never even heard of the Derby's Funland Visitor VIP Lounge, but it sounded badass. And this guy didn't deserve whatever pampering he was about to get. I'm picturing champagne and caviar, cigars, and high-quality porno magazines. My boss looked over his shoulder at me with a glare and pretty much said that we had to talk later, then escorted the two away into a secret door hidden behind a fake tree prop. I followed them, thinking I would give my boss a piece of my mind. If he fired me, so be it. I'd taken enough abuse. The dark tunnel behind the fake tree was long and lined with ancient brick. It appeared to be as old as the park itself. Far up ahead, I could hear the echoing voices of the man and his bratty kid, talking over the manager as he apologized. I hustled along to catch up with them. But then, the sounds of them talking abruptly stopped. It was replaced by a meaty walloping noise like someone tenderizing meat. Except, they'd forgotten to remove the bone first. As I walked quietly through the dark tunnel, the sounds of hammering eventually stopped and they were replaced by a different noise. It sounded like something heavy being dragged slowly over the cobblestones, slow and deliberate. Terrified now, for reasons I wasn't sure of, I kept my footsteps as quiet as I could, peeking around the corner. My manager was up ahead with another person, and they were dragging two dead bodies along, one large, one small, and leaving blood trails behind them like giant wounded slugs. No, that's not possible. I must be seeing things. That can't be right, I told myself. A door opened and closed, and they dragged the bodies inside. I hurried along, careful not to step on the bloody trails which had been left on the stone. When I finally came to the door at the end, I looked at the writing on the sign with stunned disbelief. Derby's Funland, in-house hot dog production facility, it read. Authorized personnel only. I pushed open the door and snuck inside. The room was dark and sounds of a machine running could be heard nearby. My heart began pounding in my chest, feeling sick and lightheaded. I crept towards those sounds. What I saw in the back room, I will never forget. My manager dropped off the two bodies and walked right past me. He didn't see me in the shadows as I watched what happened next. A huge man in a white butcher's apron was sharpening a cleaver. He was at least 7 feet tall, his belly large and hanging over his belt. He picked up the limp body of the dead father and like he was a beef tenderloin, not even straining as he set him on the workbench in front of him. Blood poured out of his head, staining the surface red. Then he took the cleaver and began to chop, cutting him up into usable pieces. Each piece he stuck into a massive red machine that looked like it was from another century. A giant diesel-belching automated meat grinder which took the hands, legs, arms, and pieces of torso he fed into it and turned them into ground hamburger meat. I had no choice but to stay and listen to the sounds and to breathe in the coppery smell of that horrible room as he worked, first cutting up the father, then moving on to the son. If I left, I knew my boss would see me running out through the back tunnel, and who knew what he would do if that happened. This dark secret of Derby's Funland was not meant for my eyes. As soon as I thought it was safe, I bolted out of there, being careful not to let the butcher see me. When I got back to the break room, I collapsed on the couch. I needed to get out of here, to tell someone, but first I needed to rest for a moment, to process what I'd just witnessed. But before I could even begin to think, the door burst open. My manager and several co-workers came in. They all had their mouths full and chewing on, holding hot dogs. And my boss was carrying a tray loaded with the park's signature Derby dogs.
Hey, sorry about earlier, but guess what? It's Employee Appreciation Day. Free Derby dogs for everybody. Eat up.
What could I say? Even as terrified as I was, I'd forgotten to bring lunch and they smelled delicious. I picked up a dog and took a bite, then spoke with my mouth full.
Hey, did you guys hear they make these things out of assholes?